They were demolishing the old Belle Fortuna casino when they found it. At first, it was just a hollow sound beneath the concrete, a deep echo where there shouldn't have been any cavity. A foreman ordered the floor jackhammered open. Beneath 6 inches of crumbling casino tile, they found a rusted trapdoor sealed with a wrought iron lock. No one could figure out why it was there. There were no blueprints, no construction permits. The Belle Fortuna had been built in the late 1940s over what was supposedly a filled-in rail yard. No record of a basement, no record of a subfloor, and certainly no record of a church. I'm an architectural archivist for the Nevada Historical Society. When they discover weird stuff beneath demolitions, secret rooms, sealed tunnels, stuff like that, they call me in to investigate. So when I got a call from the site manager saying they'd unearthed something ecclesiastical, I packed my tools and drove straight to Vegas. The trapdoor opened with a groan and a cloud of dry rot. A metal ladder led down into total darkness. I descended slowly, flashlight sweeping across concrete walls lined with mildew and soot. At the bottom was a corridor, long, narrow, arched, and it led to doors. Massive oak doors. Stained black with time, but clearly church doors. Carvings of angels and flames adorned them, their wings twisted and disproportionate. I stepped inside and froze. A full sanctuary stretched out before me. Stone pillars, wooden pews, an altar at the far end, and candles, hundreds of them, still burning.
No wax strips. No ash.
Just steady, flickering flames that cast gold light across the stone. The air was warm, but there was no heat source. I whispered into my mic recorder. Underground church beneath Belle Fortuna. Unsanctioned. Active illumination.
No ventilation. No electrical wiring.
I walked forward. The walls bore murals, paintings of saints, martyrs, and others. Beings with animal skulls for heads. Eyeless angels. A man with 3 faces all screaming. Each mural had been scratched out in places, as though someone had tried to erase them. But the paint underneath always bled back through. The altar was simple, wooden, but behind it, instead of a crucifix, there was a mirror, 7 feet tall, framed in red metal. It reflected the sanctuary, but not me. I stood there staring, and then I saw something move in the reflection. A figure in the pews. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back, the figure was gone. I should have left then. Instead, I explored further. Behind the altar was a narrow hallway. It led to a vestry, or what looked like one. Storage shelves lined with robes, old incense jars, and books. I picked one up. It wasn't in any language I recognized. Symbols that twisted when I tried to focus. Lines that shifted across the page like oil on water. Then the candles in the main sanctuary went out. All at once. The darkness was instant. Total. I froze. A deep sound began to rise. Not mechanical. Human. A low, murmured chant. Dozens of voices. Then a whisper. Directly beside my ear. The house of sin became a house of worship. But it still belongs to us. I turned and bolted back through the corridor, flashlight shaking. But the sanctuary had changed. It was full. Pews packed with congregants. Every one of them sat motionless, heads bowed, hands folded, dressed in robes of crimson and bone white, faces covered with veils. I tried to speak. No one moved. Then the mirror behind the altar began to ripple. Like liquid, a shape pushed forward from within it. A hand. Long fingers, jointed too many times, skin pale and wet. Then a face, stretched thin with 3 hollow eyes stacked vertically. The figure stepped through the mirror and stood at the altar. The congregation raised their heads in perfect unison, and I saw their faces, blank, smooth, skin grown over their features like wax melted over mannequins. The figure at the altar raised one finger and pointed at me. I turned and ran, blind in the dark, until I slammed against the ladder. I scrambled up it, tearing my palms open on the rusted rungs. When I reached the surface, daylight had faded. It was nearly night. The trapdoor slammed shut behind me. I turned to the site manager, gasping, "We need to close it. Seal it." He stared at me like I was insane. There's no trapdoor, he said. I pointed to the spot. Only unbroken concrete. Not even the crack from before. They demolished the Belle Fortuna 2 days later. When the dust cleared, I searched the site.
No tunnel. No doors.
Nothing. But last week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photograph. The sanctuary, full of veiled worshippers. And me standing at the back, smiling. They called it the Caraway Paint Plant. Built in 1934. Abandoned in 1977 after a fire swept through the upper floors and killed 8 workers. Official reports blamed an electrical fault. Unofficial stories whispered of sabotage or something worse. People said the fire started in the mixing vats themselves, as if the paint had ignited from within. No one went back after that. The structure was condemned. Fence went up. Lawsuits were settled. The company dissolved quietly, and Caraway became another dead name in industrial history. 45 years later, I was hired by a preservation society doing a documentary on industrial accidents. My job was to capture footage, find any surviving documents, and maybe, if we got lucky, an original paint formula. The stuff they made there was rumored to be intense. Rich, glossy reds, almost unnaturally vibrant. But I wasn't prepared for what I found. The plant sat like a corpse on the edge of a floodplain, flanked by cattails and cracked access roads. Its brick shell was blackened, half swallowed by ivy, and the broken windows glared like a skull's empty sockets. Inside it was still, too still. Dust blanketed every surface. The air smelled metallic, iron, ash, old oil. Machinery loomed in the dark like dormant beasts. Conveyor belts hung limp. Buckets lay overturned, their contents long dried. And then there were the walls. All along the northern corridor, streaks of deep crimson paint ran down the concrete. Thick, viscous. Not drips but deliberate brushstrokes, long vertical stripes about 6 feet tall, spaced in uneven intervals. Oddly fresh. I touched one. Still wet. I yanked my hand back and checked my fingers. It wasn't paint. It was warm, sticky. I wiped it on a rag, heart pounding, and told myself it was probably rust water mixed with old paint. Happens in abandoned places. No reason to panic. I continued on, documenting everything. I recorded audio logs, snapped stills, and left a body cam rolling for supplemental footage. Eventually, I made it to the mixing room. The vats stood like giant cauldrons, blackened from fire but intact. One had toppled over, gouging a trench in the floor. The steel paddles inside were twisted, scorched. But something sat on the far wall that stopped me cold. A mural, painted in that same red substance. It depicted people, at least a dozen, standing shoulder to shoulder. But their bodies were smeared, as if melting. Their faces were blank voids. No eyes.
No mouths.
And over them, a single phrase. They became the color. I backed away. That's when my recorder picked something up. A low hum, mechanical, rhythmic, like gears turning. Then, whispering. Dozens of voices, speaking in unison, just beneath the threshold of intelligibility. I spun around. The vats were vibrating. Only slightly but undeniably. And something was dripping from the rims. Red, thicker than paint. I turned to leave, and found the door gone. Not blocked, gone. Replaced with a solid brick wall. My heart leapt into my throat. I stumbled backward, searching for another exit. That's when the overhead lights flickered on. They hadn't worked in decades. And in their pale, buzzing glow, I saw the figures. Dozens. Standing where the mural had been. Same posture. Same featureless faces. And one by one, they began walking toward me. Not fast. Not threatening. Just approaching. As if waiting for something. I pressed myself against the far wall. The largest mixing vat began to fill. From below, red liquid bubbling up from the drain at its base. It overflowed, pouring across the floor toward me. I screamed. I climbed onto a machine to avoid it. And as I did, I slipped and fell. I woke up in the grass outside the plant. Middle of the night. No idea how I got there. My gear was gone. No body cam.
No bag.
No notes. Just a single item in my hand. Paintbrush. Dipped in red. Still wet. Back at home, I found something even stranger. The footage from my helmet cam had been emailed to me. No subject.
No sender.
Played it. It showed me standing motionless in the mixing room. One by one, the featureless figures approached and passed through me. Each time they did, my body twitched. Until finally, my skin turned red. Every inch of it. I looked at the camera and smiled. Then the footage cut out. I can't stop painting now. It's all I do. I don't sleep. I don't eat. Every wall in my apartment is covered. And every painting shows the same scene. The vats. The mural. And me melting into the red. They weren't burned in that fire. They weren't buried. They became the color. And I think soon, I will too. I never should have followed the signal. My sister, Emily, had been missing for 4 days. No notes, no messages, just gone. The police said adults vanish all the time. No signs of foul play, just disappearance. I wasn't satisfied with that, so I did what any desperate brother would do. I tracked her phone. Her last GPS ping came from an abandoned urgent care clinic on the outskirts of town. Cloverfield Urgent Care. It had closed during the pandemic and never reopened. Overgrown parking lot, busted windows, squatters and junkies, according to rumors. But that's where her phone had stopped. At 2:37 a.m. on a Sunday. So that's where I went. I broke in through the side door. The building was silent, the air stale. The reception desk still had an unplugged monitor, and the faint scent of antiseptic lingered beneath the rot. But there was no power.
No lights.
Just flickering reflections from my flashlight as I swept across the check-in kiosk and shattered vending machine. Then I saw it. Emily's purse, sitting neatly on a chair in the waiting room, untouched. Her phone inside, still at 27% battery. I felt cold. No dust on it, like she had just stepped out. Then the overhead speakers crackled. Now seeing patient, 124. There was no power. I backed away slowly, trying not to panic. But the lights, those horrible buzzing fluorescents, started blinking on one by one. A dull white glow filled the lobby. I turned toward the hallway leading to the exam rooms, and froze. The waiting room chairs, cheap plastic things bolted to the floor, were now occupied. Every seat. Dozens of people sitting perfectly still, heads bowed, hands folded in their laps. Their faces were wrong. Not disfigured, not bloody, just unfinished. Smooth skin where mouths and eyes should have been, like mannequins sculpted halfway through. None of them moved, none of them breathed, but I heard breathing. Behind me, I turned. The reception desk was empty, but the monitor was on now. A name blinked on the screen. Patient, Benjamin Carter. Room 3A. My name. I hadn't typed anything. The hallway lights flickered. Room 3 as door stood open, dark inside, and from within, a whisper. We've been waiting, Ben. I should have run. But some part of me, the part that still believed Emily was alive, pulled me forward. The hallway was longer than it should have been. I passed rooms labeled with numbers that didn't make sense. 2D, 3J, for C, and heard murmurs from behind the doors. Low voices. Medical instruments clicking. The occasional sob. Room 3A pulsed with light. I stepped inside. It was a typical exam room. Table with paper roll.
Pio Azabin.
Sink. And Emily, sitting on the edge of the table, smiling. Hey, Benny, she said. Took you long enough. I ran to her, grabbed her hands. They were ice cold. You're okay? I asked. She nodded slowly. I will be. They just need to finish the paperwork. Who? What are you talking about? She looked over my shoulder. I turned and saw the nurse, tall, wearing scrubs that were faded and stained, face covered in gauze, holding a clipboard with too many pages, all blank. She raised a pen and began scribbling. Time of admission, she said, though no mouth moved. My name appeared on the sheet. I backed toward the door. It was gone. Not closed, gone. replaced by tiled wall. Emily stood. Her eyes were empty. "You're here now," she said. "You're staying." The lights went out. I don't know how long I was in the dark. I woke up in the waiting room, alone.
No lights. No.
Just silence. Emily's purse was gone. My phone dead. I walked to the front door. It opened easily. I ran. But the parking lot wasn't right. The skyline was different. The trees were all dead. And there were no roads. Just a vast, flat plain stretching endlessly. I'm still here. Inside the clinic. It shifts. Sometimes the waiting room is full again. Sometimes the nurse walks by the window, scribbling on a clipboard. There's no food.
No clocks.
But I don't age. Don't sleep. Sometimes people arrive, crying, looking for someone, and one by one, they sit down, fold their hands, and wait, because this isn't a hospital. It's a collection point, a way station for the almost dead. And when your name gets called, there's no discharge. We were 4 hours into our road trip when the storm hit. Sheets of rain fell like wet cement, drowning out the headlights and hammering the windshield so hard it sounded like gravel. The GPS blinked out. Cell reception died. And our rental car, an old Crown Vic we'd picked up for cheap, started coughing. It died on a dirt road somewhere outside northern Arizona.
No lights.
No signs. Just scrub brush, darkness, and the storm. "Perfect," muttered Nate, our driver. "Absolutely perfect. Should we try walking back?" Leah asked. "In this." I gestured at the monsoon outside. "We'd drown." Then Maddie pointed. "Look, over there. A motel." And sure enough, maybe a quarter-mile down the road, just barely visible through the downpour, a flickering neon sign glowed. "Motel Echo." We reached it on foot, soaked and shivering. It looked abandoned. A single-story strip of faded rooms, 20 units in a row. The front office sat under a rotting awning, windows fogged. No cars in the lot, but the vacancy sign was still glowing. Inside the office was a buzzer and a logbook. No receptionist, just a bell on the counter. Nate rang it. A few seconds later, a key slid out from a slot beneath the counter. Brass tag, room 6.
No payment.
No instructions. "Guess we're staying for free," Maddie said. Room 6 was clean. Too clean. Sheets folded military tight. Air smelled like lemon disinfectant. Not a speck of dust. It didn't feel abandoned. Leah went to the bathroom. Came out a minute later, pale. "There's no mirror." Sure enough, the wall above the sink was blank. Just a rectangular space where one should have been. We tried the TV. Static. Tried our phones. No signal. "I don't like this," I said. "Let's just sleep," Nate replied. "We'll figure it out in the morning." I woke up in a different room. Not room 6. This one had blue wallpaper. A different layout. No windows. The others were gone. I opened the door to the hallway. Instead of the parking lot, I saw another hallway. Endless. Lit by dim yellow bulbs in the ceiling. Every door was numbered, but not sequentially. Room 13. Room 3. Room 11A. I ran. Every door I tried was locked, until one swung open on its own. Room 9. I stepped in. It was identical to my childhood bedroom. Same posters. Same desk. Even the scratch on the nightstand from when I dropped a lamp at age 11. I stumbled backward. That's when the whispering started. Soft. Just behind me. "Stay. Stay. This room is yours." I ran. I found Nate 2 hours later, at least I think it was 2 hours. Time didn't work right here. He was in room 44, lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling. "Get up," I said. He didn't move. His mouth opened. "Don't you get it?" he whispered. "The rooms want us. They're learning us. Adapting." He turned to look at me, and his eyes weren't right. Too wide. Pupils dilated like ink blots. I left him. I kept searching. Room after room. Each one tailored to someone. One had my grandmother's living room, complete with the faint smell of lavender and her old jazz records playing. Another was a blank white void, floor-to-ceiling foam. My screams didn't echo. Then I opened room 22 and found Maddie, standing in the center, grinning. I get it now, she said. The trick is, stop trying to leave. Pick a room. Accept it. She held out her hand. I backed away and slammed the door. Eventually, I found a stairwell. I took it. It spiraled downward for what felt like hours. At the bottom was a black door labeled Exit. I opened it and walked into room 6. Same lemon scent, same layout, but this time, there was a mirror above the sink. I looked into it, and the reflection smiled. But I didn't. I don't know how long I've been here now. Days? Years? Time doesn't move normally. Sometimes I blink and I'm in a new room. Sometimes I open the closet and find Nate, still lying down, still whispering. They call this place Motel Echo, but it's not a motel. It's a labyrinth, a memory maze, and each room is a cell. The doors don't lead out. They lead deeper, into you. And eventually, if you stay long enough, you forget which version of you walked in first, or whether you were ever real to begin with.